Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome to the Keystone Financial Academy. My name is Elliot, and today's video is part 2 of the budgeting and spending topic. If you haven't seen part 1, the link is in the description right below, and in that video we discussed all the different living expenses in detail, including ways to save on all of them. Here we'll take a look at an actual sample budget and also discuss a number of software that can help you create a budget and stick to it. Before we start, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming investing and finance videos. And if you like this particular video and find it useful, please hit that like button below. Okay, so let's continue our discussion on budgeting and spending. In part 1 of this video, we'll describe this basic 5 categories of living expenses, such as cost of housing, cost of transportation, cost of food and personal expenses, cost of clothing, and costs of entertainment and recreation, or E&R. In this video, let's put it all together into a concise budget. We'll start with gross income, then get to the net post-tax income, then subtract all the expenses, and then get to the discretionary income. From there, we can figure out how much you can spend, save, invest, or pay down debt. Now this is all for a hypothetical person. Let's call him John Smith. John is a 26-year-old college graduate who works as a junior accountant and makes about $60,000 per year in a medium-sized accounting firm somewhere out in the Midwest. He lives alone, has no debt outside of a car payment, and he likes to work out and has a pretty sizable food budget. He only drives a few miles each way to work, but because of the pandemic, he's been telecommuting quite a bit. But he does need to spend a little bit more on money because of the formal dress code at his accounting firm. However, since the telecommuting, he's been pretty much at home in t-shirt and shorts. He's pretty good with money, as he should be being an accountant, and here's what he came up with as his budget. So let's take a moment to go over John's budget. At the top line is his salary, his gross income pre-tax, that's $60,000. Right below that you have the deductions like taxes, 401k, and other benefits that he pays into. Those take up about 32% of his gross because he is single and not many deductions, leaving him with $40,800 in disposable or net income. Below that are the 5 categories of living expenses that we covered in detail in the previous video. You've got your housing, transportation, food and personal items, clothing, and E&R. His housing comes in at 26% of his gross income, which is under the recommended 30%, and is $1,325 per month or $15,900 yearly, leaving John with $24,900 after housing expenses are taken out. Transportation comes in at about 13% of net income, which is under the recommended 15%. He's got his car payment, insurance, and various other expenses like gas and upkeep coming in at about $5,200 per year, leaving John with $19,620 total. The food and personal items are a little bit higher than the recommended 25% of net income. It's at 28% for a total of $11,424 per year, leaving John with $8,196. Next we have clothing, which is a little bit higher than the recommended 5% or less, and that works out to about $2,400 per year, leaving John with $5,748, and that is the actual discretionary income. This is when you've paid for everything you had to pay for, and the rest is all for either E&R, investing, saving, or paying down debt. So for E&R, the budget is $2,800 per year, and if he does use up the entire budget, that leaves him with $2,892 to actually save, invest, or pay down debt. While this budget is hypothetical, it's not really that far off from any college-educated employed young adult. It represents a typical white-collar job and salary in an area of the country that isn't terribly expensive. John isn't driving an outrageously expensive car, nor does he have any other major debt to speak of. However, looking at this budget, there's a few conclusions that can be drawn from it. For item number 1, take a look at the relatively small amount of discretionary income that's left after all the expenses are paid. There isn't a whole lot left there for saving and investing, and unfortunately this is typical of somebody who's just starting out their career and not making a huge amount of money. This is why it's essential to start off with as little debt as possible. Minimize your student debt, minimize your auto debt, credit card debt, etc., etc. Now for item number 2, it could be pointed out that John doesn't really have any shared expenses and could probably cut down on a number of expenditures. He could potentially get a roommate to split the cost of housing and maybe maybe use a carpool or a van pool to commute to work if that's possible. You could probably cut down somewhat on the food expenses by buying in bulk or cooking at home more, which is something was suggested in the previous video. So as you can see, a budget could be very revealing and it's relatively simple to make. Now, it may not be possible to put together a budget right away. You'd have to track certain expenses for a few months, such as food, clothing, and transportation costs, but then once you have all this information, you input it and you create exactly what I just showed here for our hypothetical John Smith. Once this budget is created, it reveals quite a lot on what you spend and how much, and where you can make adjustments and save some money. Keep in mind, there are a number of items that other people may have in their budgets that John doesn't have in his. For example, there's no allowances for childcare, he doesn't have any kids, nothing for pet care, he doesn't have any pets, there's nothing for charitable giving, out-of-pocket medical expenses, etc. So the point is, everyone's budget is going to look a little bit different, but the approach is the same. I would encourage anyone who hasn't yet tried this to track their own expenses for a few months and then write down their own budget to see exactly where they're spending money and how they can cut back. A question can arise with personal budgeting and spending. Are there any software that can help you out with this? In a word, yes. It should first be stated that no software will execute the budget for you. It's still up to you to create and follow your own budget. And people have been doing this with pencil and paper for decades before the invention of the computer. What the software will help you with is tracking spending, debt, income, and other fixed and variable components of your budget, which just makes it easier to see what comes in and goes out. Here are a few options, and keep in mind, no endorsement is implied. This is just for informational and educational purposes. The first software we'll cover is Excel. Now, Excel, of course, is not personal spending and budgeting software. It's a general application spreadsheet software. However, it is excellent for personal finance and for people who just want to keep things simple, or they want to customize their software and don't be confined to an out-of-the-box solution with some of the software that we'll talk about next. If you're proficient at using Excel, you can pretty much use it to create your own personal financial spreadsheets, and that may be all you'll ever need. Now, the next software we'll cover is Quicken, and this is really the granddaddy of personal finance software. Quicken has been around for a couple of decades now, and at this point pretty much does it all. It can manage your income, spending, saving, debt, and bill paying. The level of features rises depending on what you purchase, with the very beginner version of the software called a starter package, and then there's the deluxe, premier, and the home and business. That version is only needed if you're running a home small business, so you can do invoicing, payroll, taxes, etc. Most people will do fine with the starter or deluxe version. The one downside to Quicken is that it's full-featured and relatively complex software, so it'll take you a little time to get up to speed and learn everything. If you need very basic tracking software, you can just use Excel or some of the other applications that I'll mention next. So from the desktop and paid Quicken, we now swing over to the other extreme with the free and web-based Mint. This web-based software, available at mint.com, claims 15 million users and is great for basic tracking of budgeting and spending. You sign up, link your accounts, and the software will assist you with your goals and your saving and budgeting. The software makes money by the referrals for various services and occasional advertising banners on its website. It's free and easy to use, but features little in the way of tracking investments or bill pay. The next software we'll cover is called You Need a Budget, or YNAB. This whimsically named software, available at youneedabudget.com, is a paid service, about $12 a month, and it's also aimed at beginners who need basic personal finance assistance. You can link all your accounts and enter data manually, but either way, the software asks for your financial goals and works to get you there. It operates on a principle of zero-based budgeting and has gotten pretty good reviews for ease of use and functionality. Like Mint, it is a personal budgeting and savings tool and not for sophisticated business or investing needs. Okay, there are other software out there, both paid and free, that focus on basic budgeting and saving, as well as investing, taxes, and other aspects of finance. Some examples include Personal Capital, New Cash, and Ace Money Lite. I'll put the websites up here and in the description below. Okay, so this is essentially what a basic budget looks like, and a brief description of some of the software that can help you out with budgeting. As always, be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of the upcoming investing and finance topics. And if you like this video and found it useful, please hit that like button below. And finally, leave some comments right down below as to what other topics you'd like to see me cover. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.